Yeah, well, not just to us. It's happening to a lot of people. That's why I say
Mhm.
YouTube is the best way to go.
All right. Well, maybe we could work around that. All right.
It's gonna
Let me
have
know when you're ready, Brother Haru.
on YouTube now.
Okay. So we can let it go now?
They
Yes.
could sing
All right.
Garbage, your cousin over here.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
All
That-
right. Welcome, welcome, welcome,
Say what?
welcome.
They come from that same plantation down there in Alabama.
yes, sir.
Fixer's Plantation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, listen, uh, we're on our
Sing Garbage.
July 11th Freedom Friday Forum, July 11th, 2025. And we've got a guest here that everybody should know of, but if you don't, shame on you. But we'll we'll introduce him in a little bit. Just let me do some preliminaries, and then we'll get on to the main topic. Okay, this being the Woodson Banneker Jackson Bay Division, number 330 of the UNIA ACL RC 2020. You know, when we do our thing, we got to go through our opening rituals, and one of them is the UNIA pledge to the flag, the red, black, and green flag. And here we go. I commit my body, mind, and spirit to the protection, defense, and security of the red, black, and green. I dedicate my life to the redemption of Mother Africa and the liberation of her scattered black children. I accept for myself and my descendants the teachings of universal African nationalism, and I promise that our children will be instilled with the purpose and knowledge of themselves as African people,
Filters.
in order that the cause of our struggle will neither
Waiting for
falter
live
nor
video.
fail, until all Black people are free and united through one God, one aim, one destiny. Now, of course, I have to also bring to you what we are about, the UNIA. We've got quite a history, starting in 2014. Sorry, 1914, and so it's been over a century, and this is what we base our work on. This is the preamble of the UNIA ACL Constitution. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League is a social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society, and is founded by persons desiring to the utmost to work for the general uplift of the Negro Black peoples of the world. And the members pledge themselves to do all in their power to conserve the rights of their noble race and to respect the rights of all mankind, believing always in the brotherhood of man and the fatherhood of God. The motto of the organization is one God, one aim, one destiny. Therefore, let justice be done to all mankind, realizing that if the strong oppresses the weak, confusion and discontent will ever mark the path of man. But with love, faith, and charity towards all, the reign of peace and plenty will be heralded into the world, and the generations of man shall be called blessed. Now, I know some of you might say that's rather idealistic, but this is what we base our work on. It's what the UNIACL is all about, and it's what our ancestors who put together the Constitution of the UNIACL opened with, our preamble. All right, so now, folks, let's get to the meat of this program here, and that is we have here for the Freedom Friday Forum a special guest. You know, as I said earlier, you should really know who this person is. But if you don't, I'll just have to introduce him to you. Baba Mukasa, Willie Ricks, also Mukasa Dada,
Oh, yeah.
long-standing fighter, long-standing freedom fighter, world-renowned, world traveler, been for a long time in the country. He's a country boy. Is that what you said? Call yourself, Dada?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Yeah,
coming out of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I don't know, bro.
Yeah, Mac.
You're a true warrior because you know you're not like some
Yeah,
of those.
phone number you want to use?
You run away from a fight and so you can live forever. You know, you stay in the battle and you're still battling. And you're not gonna stop until what? Freedom comes. As
That's
we
right.
all have it. All right. Also, we're gonna talk to you tonight about your travels a little bit, or I'll let you do it because what it is that we know what you've done as a civil rights uh, activist, as a part of the Black Panther Party, SNCC, and you've got a history, and you've been in the fight, and you're still in the fight. And today, you know, you're out there still. I mean, you've been to Africa recently, and that's it. That part is what we need to
Yeah.
talk about a little more than anything else. But we also have a special guest with you, and he's going, Dr. Abi
Abeku.
Abeku. Okay, Dr. Abeku. All right, so all right, my brother. I know you don't remember me. Well, we met at a certain capital at a certain July 26th, something like that. A long time ago. Oh no, that was May 1st. Yeah, a long time ago. You still had a couple of I think a year or more to graduate and so on. And so some of that stuff I want you to put forward here this evening so that some young people we have out there will know that there's a way to go to a place to get educated through not having to put yourself through this, you know, the corporate world that we have here financially. All right. So, my brother, tell me, what's going on now in West Africa, or I should say the Sahel states and along where the part of those West African area. What is your take on the way young people are responding to the situation here today?
In West Africa?
Yes, well, you know, yes,
Yeah.
especially West Africa, and maybe you were in Guinea-Bissau, right? Was it Guinea-Bissau?
No, Burkina Faso.
Burkina Faso. Okay.
I was in Guinea-Bissau too.
All right, give me your take
At
of
different
what's happening, my
times.
brother. Let's hear some of that.
So Guinea.
Oh,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you know, how are people responding to this situation there now? The leadership, the politics, and your activation. I mean, your interaction with them. Give me a story here.
Well, you know, we had a relationship with Amilcar Cabral
Mhm.
50 years ago when they were fighting for their liberation against Portuguese imperialism.
Mhm.
And they at that time the fight was in Angola, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Guinea-Bissau, Namibia, and we worked with that and we helped that fight continue. And that in Angola, Cuba sent troops to Angola and helped defeat South Africa and the imperialists.
Mhm.
And then back in 1972, 71, they assassinated Amilcar Cabral, and he was the leader of the PAIGC. And the PAIGC have been fighting and struggling since that time, and they have been coup d'etat, bombs been dropped on them in the recent years, and they continue to fight and organize in Guinea-Bissau to liberate their country from the neo-colonialists. And so we have brothers and sisters there organizing in Guinea-Bissau, and that they're still fighting. And now that's part of West Africa. And then you go to Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. In Burkina Faso, in Mali, they killed their leader back in 65, somewhere around in 65, Modibo Keita.
Mhm.
He was assassinated, and Mali was continuing to put under neo-colonialism, but they had continued to fight. And then you had Burkina Faso, where in 85 they killed Thomas Sankara, and he was the president, and he was trying to use the natural resources of Burkina Faso to serve the people and break away from the French and what have you. But the French paid his best friend to assassinate him, and he was assassinated. And once they assassinated Thomas Sankara, his best buddy assassinated him, and that he became the French and U.S. and put him in power. He stayed in power 25 years, and about 3 or 4 years ago, they rose up against him. But to fight also, Muammar Gaddafi's forces, when they left, Libya, they went down into that area and they took the weapons with them and they continued to fight. And so the fight just expanded. And in a couple of years ago, they took the government of Burkina Faso, and Brother Torre, however you say his name, Torre, took power. And when he took power, the government of Niger and Mali continued to fight, and they united. And now they are a united government. And I was able to meet with the president of that federation, Mali, Ghana, and Burkina Faso. And that we had a great meeting last week, matter of fact. And that also the prime minister of Burkina Faso, we met with him, and they have a government, and they have natural resources and all that kind of thing, and that the United States is trying, and France and the other imperialist forces doing everything they can to kill and overthrow the government. As a matter of fact, they tried to kill the president of Burkina Faso over 19 times, but they continue to exist. And think Russia has sent troops to Burkina Faso, 100,000, and with many weapons, and everywhere you look around, brothers standing around with AK-47s and what have you. And I was able to pick up an AK-47 back in the day against the United States and Nicaragua and some of those other places. And that, but they standing around with their AK-47s. They got weapons, they got drones, and they got many other things. But most of all, they're saying that the France, the Britain, and all of them cannot have their economics. All the deals that they have made where they ripped the country off for its economics, its gold, and everything, they're saying, hell no, all those deals are broken, and now the country is completely in the hands of young African soldiers. And so we support Burkina Faso. Matter of fact, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali are getting support worldwide by young people. And the neo-colonialist system that exists throughout Africa, young people are rising up against it. And where those old neo-colonialists shooting them, putting them in jail, like Nigeria is putting all the young shooting and putting all the young kids in jail that support Burkina Faso. So if you talk good about Burkina Faso, they see it as a threat. But it's a threat to all of them now because the sergeant, a captain, have taken over Burkina Faso, and is saying to all the young African soldiers and all the young African people, rise up against those neo-colonial governments that's been giving away your diamonds, gold, oil, rubber, zinc, tea, copper, pearl, everything, giving away, and you give them diamonds and gold, and they live in fancy, and all they leave you is they doo-doo to live with, sleep, eat, all that. You're drinking muddy water, drinking water with bugs in it. You're sick. No hospital, no school, no nothing. And people, and this is what they're doing to the people. and that the people are now coming to their common sense, saying that we come from the richest land in the world, why should we be the poorest people in the world? Europe come from the poorest land in the world, but they are the richest people in the world. And that it's not Africa that is poor, it's the Africans, because they've been ripped off for hundreds of years and continue. And that not only that, the United States, and Obama knows, set up AFRICOM in Africa. They got troops, over 40 different armies throughout Africa, and they got more secret armies than you could ever imagine in Africa, and that they are preparing to make war. Matter of fact, all these armies in Africa that's backed by the United States are holding guns and killing our people where they take out the natural resources. And these Africans that's presidents and all that, they're nothing but a bunch of puppet crooks and dummies. And that the young people are rising up against them. And we certainly hope that all the governments there are overran, overtook, and beat down, and that we have to destroy them. But Guinea-Bissau freedom and liberation in Guinea-Bissau, Niger, Mali, freedom is meaningless unless it's linked to the independence of all of Africa. All of Africa, every inch of our land must be liberated. And not only that, it must be linked to all the people, African people that live outside of Africa. We must link up with them. And when Africa fight, all these cities, wherever we live in the world, villages, wherever we live, we should set them on fire. When Africa fight, we all fight. And this is what we mean by Pan-Africanism. All of us fight together under one umbrella, under one ideology and one objective, and try to make this Pan-Africanism real. And this is what we're talking about doing. And also, the Pan-Africanism we're talking about have to be linked up to socialism or communism, a system that take everything from the rich, everything from the imperialists, everything from the capitalists, everything from these races that have ripped us off, take everything back and put it back in the hands of the people that it belonged to. This is what Castro did in Cuba. And we support Cuba, we support Castro, we support Nicaragua and other governments. Baker, you probably know the others better than I do. And we support all revolutionary movements, dead or alive. Because even if they're dead, they speak from the grave. We support them all. Even the names that we never heard of, people who died and didn't leave their name, they're our heroes and our soldiers, and we stand with them. So here you got the liberation of Africa, but now you have socialist movements around the world, and that we were able to, back in the day, fight with Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, and other areas in South and Central America to help fight against imperialism in that area. But and we were able, even in SNCC, we were able to fight against South Africa. I remember when Jim Foreman and John Lewis and Cleve Sellers and myself and Winky, and I think that was it. We went to the United Nations back in '65 and kicked the door down of the South African embassy, and we busted in on them. We were saying, free Robert Sobukwe, free Mandela. And we went in there and we whooped their ass. We whooped them. They put us in jail, but we gave them a whooping and saying, free South Africa. And then we also did the same thing in Washington when we left the United Nations, went down there and went to jail again in there. But we linked our movement, Black Power movement, up with the movement in South Africa. And then shortly after then, we spoke out for Palestine. And when we spoke out for Palestine against Zionism, against what America and the Zionists and Israel were doing to the Palestinians, we made it clear that the land belonged to the Palestinians, and we support Palestine. At that time, Israel and the United States, was fighting against Abdul Nasser, in Egypt. We joined in with them and made it clear in our position that we supported Palestine. We supported Egypt against Israel, against what the United States was doing and the other imperialist power. And so we linked it all together. And now when we link it together, we see that our brothers and sisters have risen up in Burkina Faso and other places. And at the same time, we see very clearly that the neo-colonialism is very much alive, because just this week, Wednesday, I think 5 or 6 African presidents were called in by Bush. And they sitting there sucking his toes or whatever else they were doing, and preparing to put armies in Africa, preparing to make sure that the United States get our diamonds and gold and oil and silver and copper and pearl, and preparing for a military war against Guinea-Bissau, against those other countries and the other liberation movements in Africa. And of course, we see genocide taking place in Lumumba's territory in the Congo. And they continue to rape, rob the Congo and commit genocide on the people in the Congo. So this genocide is very wide throughout Africa, but it's really wide throughout the world. And that we have to create a world movement of people that's ready to fight this imperialism and whatever. And then, so that's basically what I say about Africa. And of course, we were directed and guided as much as we could by Kwame Nkrumah, by Sekou Touré, and Lumumba, of course, was our spirit of the revolution. And I was fortunate enough to be on the battlefield with Lumumba and with Fidel Castro back in the day. We were fighting in different parts of the world, but we were all fighting at the same time. And sometimes both they were terrorists in that area that they called them, and I was called a terrorist in Chattanooga, fighting the same forces. I was put in jail, Lumumba was put in jail, Castro was put in jail around the same time, and we were making the same headline in papers and stuff. And that's how I learned about Lumumba and Castro and those in my lifetime. But our movement, all our movements, I don't care what that movement is, all of it lead to African revolution, all of it lead to the socialist revolution, socialism, and whatever. And so that's basically my experience of coming with Africa and working for Africa's liberation, period.
Thank you, my brother. Well, thank you very much. You know, hearing that from you, you know, the spirit that you still have, I wonder from all the, I don't know if we can call it backward situations that have happened after the independence of so many countries, and we were hopeful that they would be going in a direction that would see that the African people reach a point where they can challenge economically the rest of the world, or at least gain the respect of people in the rest of the world, even Asia and Europe especially, North America, not to leave that out. But we've had some regression, and I'm hoping that that is a change coming from the spirit of the young people today in Africa who are rising up. And it seems that there's a spirit that's with them. Kenya, I see Kenya. There's a lot of action there, and everywhere else. In Nigeria, as you mentioned. Do you feel that you know, with this newfound spirit of action to regain, let's say, our self-determination? Do you feel that it's a positive trend and it can be maintained or sustained?
Well, it's positive. Anytime you fight, don't care how much you fight, anytime you fight against the enemy or fight against imperialism, it's positive. But we have to be revolutionary and really try to follow and see what we have to do. And one of the things that Kwame Nkrumah tried to do, he built the Convention of People's Party, and he laid out an all African People's Revolutionary Party for all of Africa and worldwide. And then Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, he was putting a party together, and Sekou Touré was putting a party, and plus he's a Pan-Africanist in Guinea. So, and the PAIGC, the Amaka Cabral, they were putting a party together. So we definitely need a party, and we need a revolutionary party, and we need it worldwide. All of us need to bring our efforts together, bring all these different nations together, and bring all the different freedom fighter forces together, and let's become one force against imperialism, because they are definitely one force against us. So it's definitely going to take a party. It's going to take a revolutionary party. And in this revolutionary party, of course, you have a revolutionary army, but you got to educate our people into a revolution. Matter of fact, we need to round up all these little gangs and go talk to our young boys, because they are freedom fighters, whether they know it or not. We got to teach it to them. And all these brothers got these little militias. They need to come on and join with Thomas Sankara and join with Burkina Faso's army and become real soldiers and learn how to fight. And they should be willing, and all of us should be headed toward Burkina Faso and Mali and Niger and go and join them and see what we can do and come back, train well, we can know exactly what to do, but we definitely got to have a revolutionary party worldwide. And
All right.
ideology.
Well, let me see if anybody else has a question other than just me. Anybody has a question for Brother Mukasa? Oh, no? All right, well, let me ask you something. Now, there's a lot happening, and, you know, I see this, the worldwide young people are, you know, getting together, and they're for Ibrahim Traore, who is the leader of Burkina Faso.
Mm-hmm.
And the press and everything else, whenever they talk about this part of the world, it's only, they don't talk about the other leaders of the two other Sahel nations. I get this feeling that they're trying to stir up something, you know, place him in the position of an icon or something, and then maybe get the rest of the leaders there kind of jealous or something. What are they're working on that? That's my feeling. How do you get this feeling that maybe there's a whole lot about Ibrahim Traore and nothing about the others? Does that look funny to you?
Well, no, I don't know. I can't say exactly, but the revolution really is. Cuba is a great example of the revolution. And that Cuban is an example where all of them are following and being guided by the spirit of Che and Fidel Castro and the Cuban Revolution, and all of them are being guided and supported by Putin and Russia, because Putin came to Africa and stayed 12 years and helped fight against all forms of colonialism, trained all the different soldiers and whatever, gave them all the different equipment, money and whatever, all the way down to toothpaste and all kinds of things. They do more than just give guns and whatever, but they help people be able to survive and get some kind of food to them and whatever, keep them from starving to death. And so Russia has played a very major and a great role in the revolution in Cuba and South and Central America. Wherever you find revolution, Russia's always, for the most part, is on the right side of history. And we have to always recognize that. And that you're speaking of young people. Beku, why don't you talk about the different Cuba and revolutions that you have met in your time in Cuba?
Sure.
Okay.
Beku, speak
Go
up,
ahead,
young man.
I'll come back to you, Mama Ngozi. You had your hand up. Okay.
Okay. Well, yeah. So we went to Cuba in 2009. When we got to Cuba, we went to the medical school called the Latin American School of Medicine. It's known as the biggest medical school in the world. It's an international medical school, so the name does not give it justice. It's the Latin American School of Medicine, but it was 112. When I got there, it was 40 countries. And when I got there in August, in October, it went up to 90 countries. And I ended up starting my first year of medical school with students from more than 90 countries and 115, sorry, from more than 95 countries and 936 students. It was 936 students, but in 2009, we had all of these different students. We got to witness so many phenomenons, right? We got to witness all of these students that come from all of these different revolutionary countries. We even in Latin America, we had students from the Tupac Amaru movement. We had students and children of the revolution from El Salvador and the FMLN, and we had students from all of these different the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, the Zapatistas in Nicaragua, the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, the Zapatistas in Mexico. We had all of these different students. We met with them, and then if we go to Africa, we had people from all over the world. We had Sekou Touré's family members in Cuba studying medicine that graduated with me. His great granddaughter graduated with me, same year as me. We had these students from all over the world. We had some of these revolutions that my dad was talking about. One of my first years, we had people come from this place called Bougainville, or what they call the Solomon Islands, and they had a revolution called the Coconut Revolution, and we had a chance to witness how they improvised after an economic and military blockade to use coconut for medicine, for armed struggle, for daily living. We got to literally got a chance to live with these people. Um, I always tell a story about how we had a party. They made seats of coconut leaves. The day before, they made a stove right there on the school out of coconut leaves on the ground. They had coconut rice for dinner for the birthday party. The girl came out with a coconut dress, and the gift was a bag made of coconut leaves. But that's just a small micro example of a big revolution that they had called the coconut revolution, right? But also in 2009, there was a hurricane in Haiti. We got a chance to see the Cuban Revolution mobilize doctors under the Henry Reeves Brigade to go all over the world, include well in this case Haiti. We got a chance to witness them go to Haiti and send doctors from El Salvador to Mapuche to Chile, from Africa all the way to the Solomon Islands. These doctors came and they all was in the school. We literally slept with them in the same rooms and then watched them departure to Haiti. Right? We in 2009, 2010, we saw that Henry Reeves brigades move around. We saw the Cuban doctors mobilize for Ebola, I mean for these different things in Africa that was happening, the Ebola stuff that was happening in Africa. We literally saw it. We saw all of these kids from all of these different revolutions. Burkina Faso, the relationship with Cuba is, it's a little bit, it goes back before 3 years ago. We know in what 1980s, Sankara, that when he came in, he sent through 600 orphans. I think it's 600 or 700, but 600 or 700 what they call orphans to Cuba. And out of the 600 orphans he sent to Cuba, about 10% of them became doctors, while others became engineers and agriculture specialists. But about 10% of them became doctors and went back to Burkina Faso. But before they came back to Burkina Faso, unfortunately, Thomas Sankara was assassinated, and they was isolated and had issues. But now that we have the new change in government, a lot of these doctors still have clinics there now. Of course, you got the Cuban medical brigades in Africa. The Cuban medical brigades are what, 164 countries. Well, today it's 59 countries. A lot of the countries are getting scared because the U.S. is threatening to put a blockade on these countries. They said if you don't stop dealing with the Cuban doctors, we're going to block your country. We're going to put an economic blockade on your country. We got a chance to witness these Cuban doctors go all over the world and help these different revolutions from Guinea-Bissau to the Congo. We got a chance to meet the people who've done brigades in the Congo, like Che Guevara, his daughter Che Guevara was in the Congo and he was fighting with the Cuban people in the Congo. What's his name? Comandante Moya or Victor Drake. Comandante Moya, they always tell the story. How did he get the name Moya? He was second to command in Che Guevara, and Che Guevara was giving out the names to all the commanders. And he said the military name was Umoja, Mbili, Tatu, Nana, Tisa, all the way up to 120 in Swahili. That's counting in Swahili. So the first one was Umoja, but the Cubans, they didn't say Umoja, they say Moya. So Victor Drake was Comandante Moya. But guess what? We got a chance to train under Comandante Moya and his wife Ana Morales that did the first Cuban brigade in Guinea-Bissau. And she also worked with in Conakry and in Guinea, Equatorial Guinea as well, the Spanish colony of Africa. So we got a chance to work with all these different Cuban doctors and go to support all of these different revolutions. We got a chance to eat and work and study with the people of Angola and the people of Agostinho Neto. We got a chance to study and work and eat and sleep and learn with the people of Frelimo,
Venezuela.
Frelimo and Venezuela, Frelimo, Maurice Bishop in Mozambique. We got a chance to study and work with the people of Swapo and the people, the Nosa people and the Saswana people and the Zulu people in of Southern Africa and Tanzania. We got a chance to hang out with all of these different people of all of these different revolutions, even Latin America, Chavez, Hugo Chavez. We got a chance to hang out with all the Chavez folks and the Chavez groups down there in Venezuela and the Maduro folks in Cuba. We got a chance to hang out with all of those people, and we got a chance to support those revolutions all in one place. It was like a playground for revolutionaries right there in Cuba. All the different revolutionaries came to study medicine and become doctors. So we got a chance to witness. So we end up going to Cuba to learn revolution, but but we got to become a doctor out of it. So so we learned a lot in Cuba and and got a chance to hang out with all these different revolutionaries from all over the world, all over the world. A lot of these indigenous groups, a lot of these small groups in Brazil that are fighting in their ways. A lot of these different groups in all over Africa. We even had Chinese students. We had students from China, students from North Korea. We had students from Mongolia. That was one time a socialist country. Mongolia, Vietnam, of course, and all of these different countries. So we got a chance to really share and learn about these revolutions in Cuba. So Cuba, with that being said, Cuba gives out full scholarships to medical school, to students from all over the world. People can study there. But that's the answer my Baba Mukasa Papa question, and of all of these students who we study with, all these children of these different revolutions, which is so many, and they all right there. It was such a pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Baba Biku. I'll come back to you because I have a question regarding how young people in the U.S. and what can become doctors by traveling to Cuba, and how they're when they come back to the United States, how they work in the communities they're working in. And okay, we'll talk a little bit more. But let me go to Mama Ngozi. You had a question, so please go ahead.
Hello, Layla. Hello, little Cuban girl.
Mama Ngozi, you're muted. Okay.
I think I'm okay now. Yeah, when I was listening to the both incredible presentations, and I thank you so much. And I was actually wanted to talk about the meeting that was held at the White House yesterday
Mm, mm.
You know, I guess what, you know, Trump is calling the group of the willing, you know, it's this counter-revolutionary groups in Africa, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Liberia, that, you know, that Trump has pulled together basically to organize a confrontation with Burkina Faso and the revolutionary states in Africa right now. I just wanted to get a comment on that because I think that's something that we really have to watch in terms of how Trump is beginning to try to organize the reactionary countries, the neocolonial countries in Africa. And then, you know, I just wanted to mention that my daughter almost went to the medical school in Cuba. And
Mm.
so we actually witnessed a Cuban medical school graduation. And it was one of the most incredible events of my life, I think, where I think there were about 40 African countries that had students graduating from the Cuban medical school. And we were able to interact with the medical students. And it was just an unbelievable occasion because you really see the Cuban Revolution in action, because you see the solidarity that Cuba is so famous for, not only in words, but in deeds, right? So I just wanted to mention that because I thank you so much for talking about the medical school in Cuba. But I wanted just to ask those two questions. One was about the Trump meeting with these reactionary African presidents yesterday, and to thank you for your presentation on Cuba.
Well, of course, where there's revolution, there's counter-revolution, and there's a force in Africa that's working with imperialism. They got over 30 different armies in Africa under African and whatever, and they call their puppets in to put their militaries in place and all that. Trump announced that they had just taken over different parts of the Congo, where they have controlled the resource that is in the Congo, and he announced that. And so you definitely have those forces, but the revolutionary forces existing too, and that we just all have to, we gonna have Africa, we gonna have to fight for it, and we have to prepare for it. And that's one of the reasons they're attacking Russia right now, because Russia is giving support to all the revolutionary forces around the world. It's one of the main supporters of revolution, and that's one of the reasons they're dropping bombs and fighting Russia right now. And of course, they have revolution and war against Cuba that they've been waging for 60 years, 70 years. And they're waging war on them, and one of the ways they wage war is starvation and embargoes and all that, blocking food, medicine, and all the things that it takes to develop equipment and everything. And they block Cuba and try to make Cuba a starving, poor nation. And this is what they're doing, and they're threatening everybody in every nation around the world that gives support to Cuba. They threaten to do the same thing to them, and all of them living under terrorism against the United States. And Cuba is definitely caused many deaths and starvation and hunger in Cuba, even though the people are guaranteed 3 meals a day, they're guaranteed medicine, they're guaranteed education, they got housing. It's your house if you live in it. Ain't no light bill, gas bill, water bill. I think my son got a house down there. I think he pay about $25 a month for a light bill and whatever. And transportation, they haven't went up since the revolution started. It still costs about a nickel, a dime to ride the bus up and down the highways and whatever. And Cuba say they're a poor nation, but the little bit they have, they owe it to the world to share with the world. And this is why Cuba gives so much to the world, and they have so little, but they give more probably than any other nation in the world to the rest of the world. They go and find hunger, starvation, sickness all around the world, and they deal with it. Matter of fact, Abeku, tell me about you said about Cuba. Tell me about the brigade you taking, what you're doing with the young people, and they asked about how young people getting to become doctors and the program you got going there.
Well, yeah. So we there's 33 33,000 students from the Latin American School of Medicine that graduated, and we have an organization of students of graduates. Excuse me. We work with the students, but we have 31,000 graduates from the Latin American School of Medicine from 120 plus countries, and we have different roles, different things that we do as doctors. But one of our things that we do is we organize medical brigades, and that's I'm kind of over that project, that over that part of the organization. So we mobilize doctors from all of these different countries to do different brigades, and we train and we of course we using the Cuban model. And this year is what he's talking about is we're organizing the brigade in Guinea-Bissau called the Amilcar Cabral Medical Brigade, which we have about we have more, but it's about 60 students and doctors that will be participating in this medical brigade. And we're going to a distant community. We go to like Fidel he said, queremos médicos que va a los lugares, los rincones más oscuros del mundo, which basically means that we want doctors to go to the places where other doctors don't want to go, the places where people don't want to go. So that's one of our philosophies. So we're going to a very small area, very distant area from the city in Guinea-Bissau, and we're doing like medical brigades for those type of things. And but that's what we're doing. We have 2 more that we're doing next year, but we are following all of the different Cuban medical brigades all over the world, and we have different things that that we're doing. But that's the answer that question. Yeah.
And also, what about the doctors that you now giving scholarships and trying to bring into medical school, and what the program is, what you're doing there?
Yeah, well, yeah, I know we basically work in the United States. We have students that we look for students to go to medical school in Cuba between 18 and 25. We're looking for right now. I have a campaign and I'm looking for students fresh out of high school, because when you get down to the medical school, the students, the U.S. citizens, they go to college for about 2 years, 4 years first, but all the other students go fresh out of high school. They decide that they want to be doctors at 17 or 18. So I have a campaign now that we're trying to get students to go to Cuba fresh out of high school. So if we have anybody that's interested to go to medical school, fresh out of high school, and you've done well in high school, and you're humble, and you come from a humble community. Of course, we're looking for African descendants. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for us. And you want to go to medical school, you want to become a doctor, and you don't want to just become a doctor. You want to be a doctor like my friend the doctor from Minister of Health of Honduras, Luther Castillo. He says, Doctor de Ciencia y Conciencia, a doctor of consciencism and science, not just consciencism, not science, but consciencism as well, or consciousness as well. And if you want to be a doctor of both, then that's the doctor that we're trying to train in Cuba. If not, then that's fine. But that's what we're looking for. We're giving out, of course, Fidel offered 500 scholarships a year, but we're looking for the candidates that meet those criteria of not only science but conscience of consciousness. So anyone that's interested, I can give that information for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, sir. Well, I really appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much, my brother, for sharing all that you've shared. And Baba Mukasa,
Yes, sir.
I noticed when you traveled to Burkina Faso, you didn't just go for the glitz and glamour, you went to the grassroots. And I really appreciate that. I want you to share with us, because I noticed that there was quite a few grassroots things that are going on. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the work that's going on from the top, but it's always the roots that's important. And I saw that you met with some very powerful young brothers and sisters, some AP, All African People's Revolutionary Party folks, but grassroots people. So talk to us about that, because I think that's the most important thing we can do to counter this Yurugu movement, to try to counter our revolution, is to make sure that our young people, regardless of what positions they have, are organizing amongst themselves. And I noticed that you went to a couple of places. So talk to us a little bit about that, if you could. That's the main thing I want to hear about. I mean, I appreciate what everybody is sharing. I think it's very important, but I'm very concerned about, ancient future. In other words, revolution taking place, and the young people are the ones. And I appreciate what I just heard from my brother, but I want to hear what you got to say about some of those meetings that I know you attended in
Well,
Burkina Faso.
yeah. Well, going back in the day, when we was in Mississippi and SNCC, the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party and SNCC itself, we organized the youth, and we organized what we call freedom schools, where we bring kids together and talk to them about movement and revolution, and give them some kind of ideology and teach them not to have fear and all those kinds of things. And then later, after we organized the Black Panthers, and then we trained the Black Panthers for self-defense, they organized breakfast programs. And the reason they organized breakfast program, when they brought the kids together and tried to talk to the kids, they realized that the kids were hungry. Some of them didn't have no shoes on or whatever. And to get past being able to talk to them, they said, we got a problem. And they saw that they were hungry, so they organized, let's cook some bacon, let's cook some food. And they started cooking food, and that went off so well. Then all the kids started coming for, they had a room full, a house full, and a neighborhood full of kids that wanted the food, and they wanted to hear about freedom and liberation. So that's where that come from. And then in the APRP, we organized what we call work study groups. Well, we bring people together and let them read different books in history. Let them read about Kwame Nkrumah and all the different brothers and sisters in history. And they read about that and discuss it. And it's supposed to be work study group, not just study, but go out and work. And these are where these ideas come from. And then when a young lady, I can't even think her name, excuse me, but she was born in California, and she went to Guinea-Bissau, and she went and helped the APRP put together a school in that area, and she got a bunch of young people together, and they go through the work study program, talk about Kwame Nkrumah, and learn about revolution. And they're in Guinea-Bissau, but they make it clear that they're fighting in Guinea-Bissau, but they're not fighting for Guinea-Bissau, they are fighting for Africa. And they're fighting for Africa. So when I sit down with them, they ask me a bunch of questions, but I could see very clearly that they were so intelligent and wise and learning so much, I should be the one asking them questions. But I got away with it. And so this group is in Burkina Faso. And now they're putting together another school in Mali. When I was there, they put one in Mali, and they put another one in Niger. And what I was suggesting to them, that we need to put these institutions all over Africa in every country. And we got somebody working in the Congo doing it. And we got a brother, what's his name, Beku? Imani in the Congo, in Guinea-Bissau, working with the PAIGC. Tell them about that, Beku.
Imani?
You lost. You cut off.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can't hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Imani doing great things. Imani, Amilcar Cabral started a legacy in 1900, in 19, can't remember the exact date, but he started the PAIGC, the Party for African Independence. And it's a continuous movement, and Imani is there. He's doing great work, working with the PAIGC, a revolution going on there. They fighting for revolution there. It's just continuous work of Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, Senegal. They're working close with Senegal, and and all of these different revolutionary countries that's trying to fight for African independence and Pan-Africanism and socialism and revolution. So it's just one example of many African countries fighting for revolution. Yeah.
Black Power. Thank you. Black Power.
And he's able to bear himself in. He left. We organized him when he was a student at Southern University, and he graduated in law school and went to Guinea-Bissau. And when he went to Guinea-Bissau, he joined the PAIGC. And now he's one of the main organizers in the PAIGC in Guinea-Bissau, and they have taken over the government. And every time they take it over and they vote to win the government they drop bombs on them and whatever, and keep a reactionary president in power with the help of the United States, with the help of a reactionary governments. But they continue to fight in Guinea-Bissau. So the organized and education, ideologically, probably the most sound government in Africa would be Guinea-Bissau at this point, because they're well organized and they got a solid party, and that's what we need, and that's what Thomas Sakai was trying to put together, a party. And then we got to go back and put that party together, because a few military men can't hold off the United States. We got to make it a mass struggle where if you touch one, you got to touch them all over the world. We react all over the world. And this is what we do, because the education is the number one, bigger than the gun. Castro said that the revolution starts after the last bullet has been fired. So we got to educate our people, get their minds. I think Huey Newton said education in the head before the gun in the hand. And that this is what we have to do. And so this revolution, this movement is very powerful in Guinea-Bissau, probably the most solid ideological group in Africa. But at the same time, we got military bases, revolutionary bases in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and other parts of Africa. But the ideological part is being spread for Africa, and we make it clear that we're not fighting for Guinea-Bissau, we're not fighting for Niger or Mali, we're fighting for Africa and African people worldwide. And we're fighting for socialism and joining in with everybody in the world that's fighting against imperialism and fighting for socialism. And that's why Castro continued to be the guide of the revolution. He speaks to us from the grave. I think that might answer the question some.
Okay. All right. Now, Biko, I met a few students from the U.S. while in Havana, and they told me that the way they got their scholarships and what they intended to do, and this is, I mean, maybe 10 years ago, 2015. Anyway, they were out of Chicago and New York, and they were there the same time you were. I don't know if you know, I think you were with them, if I'm not mistaken, at the breakfast. And they mentioned that they were going to graduate either that year or the year after, and they were going back to New York and to Chicago.
They were in Cuba.
Now, what about, do you know any of these guys, how they're doing, and what is the type of work, if it's going well, and it's encouraging so as to get other students to do the same thing?
Yeah, so we got 220 graduates from this program, U.S. citizens.
Mhm.
And on July 26th, we're gonna have 244 graduates. So we got a lot of graduates. I graduated in 2016.
Okay.
In 2015, I was on my penultimate year. I was on my second to last year, and so I 2015. And then I also worked with the students. I was a mentor. I was very involved. So I know all of these students. A lot of them come from New York. Actually, it was one point in the program that maybe half of the students was from New York and the other half was from California. So we know these students. Actually, We have a high percentage of graduates, the graduates that are practicing in New York, including Whitehall Hospital, Wyckoff Hospital, Woodhull Hospital, Stony Island, Harlow, a lot of those hospitals in New York, and then also in California as well. We have about we have a few. I think it's about a half a dozen. Don't quote me on how many students graduated that were born and raised in Chicago. But Chicago has a good movement, strong progressive students that are in Chicago, that are very pro Cuba, and they're doing great things as well. I could name them all, some of them, but it's a lot of good students in Chicago as well. But they're doing good things. Most people are going through their residencies, doing specialties, and practicing medicine while we continue to try to stand on the right side of history and support Cuba and try to destroy the blockade, and or at least try to chip at it as much as we can. So for sure, I think that answered the question.
Okay. Uh, these students, they're going to Cuba. When you're recruiting them, or if they get a chance to do that, they're facing something that's happening now within the federal government. And we have a Secretary of State who is going about the world threatening people that if they allow Cuban doctors to practice in their countries, they will be sanctioned, and threatening the visa. They use this visa thing on the leaderships in some of these countries. A lot of people in some of these developing nations, they're afraid to lose their U.S. visa, and that's a threat that is, this particular person who's of Cuban extraction is going about threatening people with. How do you answer to students if they say, "Well, are you sure I'll be able to come back and practice and do, and get, finish my residency or whatever right here, or get my license and thing?" How do you answer questions like that?
Yeah,
Let me
so
help you with that, Beku.
the
Let me
pastors,
help you with that.
Mhm.
Bennett Thompson, you know Bennett Thompson?
Yes,
Bennett Thompson from Mississippi, Congress from Mississippi.
they're supposed to be going to Cuba next week for the graduation. Him and yeah.
And Bennett Thompson went to Cuba, and he went to the school and noticed that, and found out they were bringing kids from around the world. And he asked Fidel Castro, would he give him a scholarship? And Castro said, one scholarship from a couple scholarships from Mississippi. He said, no, we'll do better than that. We'll give you $100 a year to come to Cuba and go to medical school. And Bennett Thompson came back and went to Congress and made them pass a law and made them agree to allow the students from the United States to go to Cuba, go to medical school, come back here and take the medical board and be doctors without no problem. Beku, when he went to medical school, came back, immediately got a job. Matter of fact, they were fighting for him. Morehouse got him, and he got a job at Morehouse Medical School and did his work at Grady at the public hospital. At Grady Hospital, no problem, ran no problem, and now he can get a job anywhere in the United States he wants, and ain't nobody messing with him.
Yep, and then
What you say, Beku?
before that, I did a research fellowship in California at Highland Hospital, and I was working with a top cardiologist there. But to answer that question a little bit further, Pastors for Peace is the organization that actually recruits people. When we're talking about taking visas, Pastors for Peace does not accept students who are not
Lou
U.S.
Walker.
And with Lucius Walker, they do not accept students or provide scholarships for visa students. The students that go through the U.S., the United States, you have to be a U.S. citizen. Cuba provides scholarship for anyone, but the program that I'm talking about is for U.S. citizens to go to Cuba to study medicine. You can go as a Cuban U.S. citizen. You travel to U.S., I mean, you travel to Cuba, you practice medicine, you come back here. I'm sorry, you get your diploma, you come back here, you take your exams, and you find the specialty that you want to do. It's that simple. I'm not the only one that chose a specialty. There's other people. I'm not the only one that went to Morehouse School of Medicine, which is two different schools, but it's Morehouse School of Medicine. I'm not the only one that's done this. So we have 200, like I said, we have 245, well, 220, almost 244 graduates that are doing this, that are coming back and they're practicing medicine here in the United States. And we have alumni association, and we help the students. We help the students get all the way through. So we have a whole system. We've been doing this since 2001, 1999, excuse me.
Wow. You know, it's the first time I'm hearing about the congressional bill
Oh
that
yeah,
was
Benny
passed to
Thompson
allow
did
this.
it.
Huh?
Benny Thompson did. And matter of fact, now Baku is over the program, and has recruited me to help go out and organize and bring another 200 students to Cuba to make doctors out of them for medical school. So if the UNIA can bring your youth, get your kids, all the ones you know, and get us 100 kids that graduate from high school, little street kids, and we're going to take them to Cuba, and when we send them back to you, they'll be doctors.
We're on it, my brother.
Yeah.
We're on it. Yeah, that's fantastic. And there might be, there might be a lot of they might not be UNIA members
We
or
don't care who they are, as
they're
long as
students
they're
out of high
African,
school.
bring them. We take
Yeah.
anybody. They can be any kind of student. As long as
Okay.
they're young people that want to go to medical school, come on to Cuba. No discrimination.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that information. All right. We'll be back with you. Yeah. All right. Now with the students coming back, well, I shouldn't call them students, but the graduates in medical school coming back. I understand, and I understand this, I think, from one of the meetings I had with what's the group that recruits students from here? I had a meeting, and one of the, I guess you have to recognize that when you come back, you'll be working in areas where there's need for doctors.
Well, you work anywhere you want to work. You can work at the richest hospital, the poorest hospital, or wherever you want to work and choose to work. That's up to you. And you're qualified to work in any hospital, and you're better than all the other doctors that studied here in the United States or anywhere else. Cuba got the best doctors in the world and best medical school in the world. So they come back superior.
You're real doctors. You don't need an electronic machine to tell you what something is. Am I saying it right?
They do that too.
They
Matter
do
of
that.
fact, tell me about that time you said, Baku, they were getting ready to operate on this man. You took his neck or did whatever. You remember that?
Yeah. He's talking about a patient, patient X, came in, who came in and their heart rate was very high in the 200s. And when the heart rate was in the 200s, blood pressure went down because you need your heart rate to be normal to keep your blood pressure up. It got to a point where we was gonna pull out the big machines and the big scans and the $1 million workup for them. And there's a maneuver that you can do that we learned in Cuba that will slow your heart rate down. That I do not recommend anybody do this. This is not medical. This is not medical recommendations to do this at home. But you can rub on an artery on the patient neck. And when you rub on the artery, when I went in the room, we rubbed on the patient artery on his neck, and his heart rate went from the 200s back down to normal. And it got to a point where, my whole point is you can use bedside skills. You learn how to use what Fidel say when he was talking about Ho Chi Minh's revolution. He was saying they use minimal resources to get the same results the same results as the first world. So Cuba teaches you to use your hands, teaches you to use your ears, listen, use your eyes, and they use minimal resources to get results that compares that can compare to the first world, to decrease their infant mortality in Cuba. They have things they teach you how to. I mean, Cuba has eliminated vertical transmission of HIV. These are things that we know. They have vaccines prevention for vaccines for to prevent different things. Cuban vaccines. They have vaccines for cancer. They have different medications that they use to prevent people from getting their leg chopped off. But the big thing in what he's talking about is Cuba uses an ounce of prevention, and sometimes that's more than a, a liter of treatment. But for sure, yeah, you're
I
gonna
think,
you get a great education in Cuba.
yeah, in other words, the preventative medicine is a top priority, sort of.
Yeah,
And instead of allowing things to fester, so to speak, so that you can wait for the chemical side of medicine, coming from the corporate side, the the people who make medicine in either here or Canada or where it's in Europe. I mean, of course, it's a corporate system, and it's a profit driven system. So having Cuban style medicine in a place like the United States, it will not be good for profits. So I can imagine, but you can practice it here anyway, right? I mean, what I'm saying, preventive medicine, or is there a problem with some people saying, that's not normal for the U.S. or not scientific?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess to answer that question, yeah, in Cuba they do teach you very early to preventative medicine, but sometimes people get sick, and but Cuba teaches you to use minimum resources as well to treat people, to get the same results. And then sometimes, Cuba has big hospitals. Cuba has pediatric hospitals that treat congenital diseases. You may need surgery. Some people need surgery. Some kids are born with holes in their heart and need surgery. Some people have accidents and need to go to the operating room. So Cuba offers primary care, preventative medicine, but it also offers very good tertiary care, very good secondary care. And as the thing is, we don't leave out the public health aspect of it. That's incorporated in the education in Cuba. They don't leave out the preventative aspect of it, and that's incorporated in the education system in Cuba, which is an issue in the United States. We have a lot of people using the emergency room as primary care doctors. People don't
Yeah.
have health care insurance. People don't when you get to the when you come into these hospitals, you can't make it to see the doctor because of the lack of insurance. They don't have them. They can get treatment, but they don't have the medication I mean, the finances or the resources to stay healthy, even if that means electricity, so you can store these vitamins, minerals, medications, or whatever you're taking. Even if that means a place to stay. The class difference, the poverty, and the lack of resources is a thing that affects. That kind of slams the U.S. citizens on their back in the healthcare system.
And I can imagine things may get worse with I understand all these cutbacks in Medicaid and all that stuff that's being threatened. So hopefully they'll find a way to get past all that, because people are certainly in need of that Medicaid and Medicare and all that. If that's taken away, a whole lot of people will not be able to see a doctor or to be treated in hospitals. The hospitals may turn them away, as they do sometimes already.
Well, they closing hospitals down, and we ain't got no choice but to find some natural ways of curing ourselves and making ourselves well. Because if we depend on folks that just want money for medicine and all that, we're in deep trouble. And matter of fact, some of the stuff they're doing right now gonna cause millions of people to die and to be sick. And one of the things that Cuba does is that Cuba cure the sickness, not treat the sickness. And here they treat the sickness and keep you on a pill for 30 or 40 years and whatever. But Cuba is cure your sickness. And so Cuba would have the best doctors in the world because they really love and care for the people and not make money off the people. They don't make money off of people's sickness.
Well, you know, big farm is profit driven, so
They're criminals.
you can't expect anything different from them.
They're
But yes,
criminals.
you're right.
And causing people to die and suffer
Mhm.
and hurt and pain.
Well, I must say we're getting to the end of our program here, and I want to, if there are no other questions from anyone else, I will bring us to a close. Baba Boubacar Soumana, thank you for being on.
Well, thank you, and thank you, young lady. We appreciate you, and thank you for your wonderful questions, and we really thank you for being so beautiful. We hope to
Okay.
meet you in person one day.
Oh yeah.
African Queen.
Yeah. Yes, that's
Thank you, my
that's
brother.
I'll tell you, my brother, I don't know, you may not have met her personally, but that's one of our justice warriors here in the DMV, and she leads the Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition, which is a coalition of people part of the UNIA is a member of that coalition, and they are struggling with these developers who have destroyed a cemetery in Bethesda, and they're struggling to have restitution for all this because
Hello.
it's ridiculous what they've been doing, and it's still a struggle. It's not over yet. They've fought some battles, we've won some court cases and all that, but it's still a struggle because developers, these are real estate developers, are people with big bucks, and they hire the best lawyers they can get, and they don't give up easily. So yeah. So she's the president of that BACC, we call it, Bethesda African Cemetery Coalition, and you can see in the background there's what was that, a logo, part of a logo, and it's a fight, and she's not only well, there are lots of other things that she's involved with, but that's a long story. She, let me, Mama Ngozi, speak about some of the things that you fought against. What are you known for nationally?
Say it again.
Oh, you're muted.
I'm muted.
No, not you. Ngozi. She's
Oh,
gonna.
yeah, I think nationally, so I worked at the EPA for a number of years, and so I was the EPA representative to the Nelson Mandela government to help reorganize his environment department. And I found out that a US corporation, namely Union Carbide, had poisoned hundreds of vanadium mine workers in South Africa. And so I reported these murders to the US government, and I was given a let them die order. And so I made the decision to blow the whistle on the United States government and Union Carbide. And so I was fired, obviously, and I took the US government to court and I won. And as a result of that, a law was passed, which turned out to be the first civil rights and whistleblower law of the 21st century, called No Fear. So I think nationally, I'm probably known for the No Fear Act, because every federal employee must take No Fear training every 2 years. And you have to take no fear training 60 days upon entering the federal government. Now, whether Trump is going to try to, overturn federal law is one thing, but at this point, the law is still holding, and people are still being instructed in civil rights law every 2 years and 60 days upon entering the federal government.
So there you have it. That's our warrior queen there. So thanks.
And speaking of Union Carbine had an explosion in India
Yes.
where they killed thousands, tens of thousands of people and blinded over 75,000. And they kept taking the people, and they didn't give them nothing, and people took them to court. And by the time they finished with them in court, I think the people got about $15 a piece, blind, to kill whole families of people.
Yeah.
And they gave them about $15 a piece after they sued them.
Yeah.
They're all criminals. They're international criminals. The companies are criminals, and they do nothing but kill the people, poison the water, poison the air, destroy the trees, just do everything. They hate the earth. They hate the people on earth. They just want to exploit it, rape it, and rob it.
That's right. That's what
Well,
they do. Yep. Yeah.
we could go even to what's this new issue of United States entering the Congo and Trump making these efforts to control the strategic minerals coming out of the Congo.
They re-enslaving the world. They're trying to re-enslave Africa. Slavery was good for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're fighting for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to happen because
we're going to be
sometimes
Pan-Africans. We're going to be revolutionaries, and we will defeat the imperialists. No
the
doubt
fight must
about
continue. The fight must continue, my
it.
brother.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Long
for
live
being
Africa.
on.
Long live the revolution. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
thank you.
Thank you, Ku.
Thank you, Biku, and thank you all for being on. And I hope to see you again at our next Freedom Friday forum. This comes to you from the UNIA ACL RC 2020, Woodson Banneker Jackson Bay Division, 3:30. And we do this twice a month. And, we're hoping to continue for years to come. So long as there's a fight, we have to be the soldiers in that fight.
Well, we'll
So
be
thank you
honored to
very
come
much
back
again.
again whenever. We hope we met your expectations, and we hope we get another invitation.
Yes, indeed. And you can spread the word. We do stream on YouTube. We upload this to YouTube. Basically, we stream on Facebook, but we've had a little issue today. I'm not sure we're getting that stream going through, but we were streaming on YouTube. So anyone else who has missed this and they would like to, you can tell them where to go and see this and hear this. So again, my friends, comrades, one God,
One God,
one aim,
one aim,
one destiny,
one destiny,
one Africa.
Africa.
One
Yes.
Africa.
Africa must unite.
Africa must unite, indeed.
I say.
All right.
Thank you, Ku.
Take
Thank
care.
y'all Africans. Thank you very much. Thank you, my beautiful, lovely sister.
Thank you so
Revolution
much.
ain't going nowhere without the woman. Y'all know that.
We're not
All
going
right.
South African men.
And thank you, Brother
You
Harold,
make
for
us.
coming through for us.
We
this
fight for
evening.
you. You make us strong.
Yeah.
Thank you, my sister. I hope to meet all of you again soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, my brother.
All right, Ku.
Thank
Okay,
you.
okay, Brother Harry, you can
So
take it out.
much.
Mhm.